Okay, so first off, I'm going to tell a story. The union wrote a survey. We told them we didn't want to represent drivers as victims. We told them pity justifies inaction. But, you know, they set up questions to highlight driver abuse. Question 20, drivers asked to describe incidents, and I'm reading here. I asked the lady behind me to put her seatbelt on, and I retired the other lady's hand from my penis, and I asked them to restrain. And as a woman, I was threatened by a police officer. He was drunk. Uber did nothing. And drunk guy came back from back, opened my door, pulled me out as I kept calm, told him to get back in the car. Noise was loud. I laughed when I read these. I know that to people that don't drive, that these are really shocking, but these are things that drivers deal with every day, and we are so used to hearing them that that they come with the territory. You could ask, where else in the world do you go to your workplace and have incidents like that happen to you and not be able to complain to anybody and not have any recourse for taking any further action, and not even be able to discover the names of the people that did that. However, it's common background to our work, and it's crazy to feed this to a public who have no awareness of this reality. And I thought, how useless is this survey? I think we can talk about the details of driver abuse and bad pay, long hours to no end. We have to start with an end in mind. We know and have recognised the common issues we face: unfair pay, lack of transparency in app algorithms, how manipulative algorithms affect our ability to earn. We can talk about enforcement of community standards and capping drivers, ways of stopping deadheading to reduce the environmental effects of increased congestion, too little pay for too many hours, no safety or workplace protections, lack of insurances, no cover for health or loss or retirement, no recompense for expenses, direction by secret algorithms that treat us as employees, but taxation and regulation that regards us as businesses, or even the unstated profit made by possession and sale of the data we don't get paid to provide. If we allow our actions to be defined by the differences that apply, that are applied, that counter the zillion and one legislations we work within, we step onto a playing field generated by the enemy with expertise using resources that we do not have. We should be setting new terms. What I'm trying to say there, I guess, a little badly worded, is that we note the similarities in our working conditions all over the world. We've recognised those things. We recognise that we're subject to those things, but we tend to act according to the legislations that we're in. And companies like Uber have set their work directions and the confines of our operation within those legislations. They can pick us off one by one. App-based work is an inevitable progress of technology. We have to look at the overview. Apps are the obvious tool for an agent to connect customers with suppliers, just as they connect consumers with purchasable goods. A company called Uber set up as an agency. They started out advertising drives at a rate determined by distance and time, and they worked on the premise that the nearest car got the job. They evolved and became an employer of their own unique device. The overview that we should be looking at is in the long term across many industries, because they learnt and they developed. They carefully crafted terms and conditions of work that are written within the framework of each legislation they accounted to evade any hint of employment relationships. Uber designed a legal non-employment relationship that has in a short time been adopted as standard practice across a range of app-based service industries and suppliers. Companies like DD and Bolt in the transport sector, Airtasker, 13 Sick for doctors, Coles, Airbnb in the aged care sector. Throughout different industries, this is happening. Algorithms and back-end functions instruct, track and evaluate a crowd of casual workers that are not employed. So the workers deliver a responsive, seamless, standardised service and they avoid all responsibility and financial obligations of employing workers. All have the same features of employees carrying the cost and risks associated with their employment. All of these companies are legally empowered to deny responsibility, usually undertaken by employers. Okay, so any company that's working for its investors would therefore deem an employment relationship to be an expensive hindrance to the development of the business and an unnecessary cost to investors. The range of service industries so far infected include transport, cleaning, aged care, medical practice, blah, blah, like I said. Insecure employment comes at a high cost to individuals and families, however. And what we see is that this cost is part transferred to a cost to society. Governments have no means of divesting the costs of their service provision to insecure employees unless they revert to user pay systems that would effectively transfer those costs back onto the employees and to other members of society. Governments need to catch up and apply industrial laws that will restore the economic balance that are the basis of their budgetary design. If they fail to do this, we'll be living in a world where even some of society's most highly regarded occupational practitioners are part of the underclass of overemployed, underpaid workers. That will forward the costs of both their professional and financial inability to cope, to their clientele, to the social and medical services, to policing, to banking and finance, and to each and every inhabitant of those societies. So we've all been trying to organise and we're all under-resourced, and everyone that I talk to everywhere in the world is doing the job in 2s and 3s, in small numbers of people. They're doing it largely without pay, which is placing an extra burden, but they're impossibly overburdened by the task. We don't have the resources to attack if we attack in parts. If in America they're going for a specific set of circumstances to get around the way that Uber fronts the legislation in their area, or the way that these companies front the legislation in their country. And we're doing a different thing in Australia, and Britain's doing something else. We need to actually be together on this. We came together as a conference at the beginning of the year internationally to develop a manifesto, and the manifesto is an excellent working document. It outlines all the problems and the common issues that we face, and things that ways that we can attempt to generate some kind of response for that, but we're still playing on their playing field. We're still playing on the playing field of those companies. We're still playing piecemeal by legislations. So I believe, and this is going to require a great deal of effort, and I'm here to ask the question, how do we do this? At one end, we have to pressure governments for a redesign of app-based work that addresses the future costs and the needs of the workers and the future costs to societies inherent in the Uber design. If we don't do that, if we don't present a workable redesign of this app of app work, because it's infecting every area of employment, we're going to be in a situation where it will just evolve according to the company's expertise, according to the companies who are running it, according to what they can do and what they can get away with. And we will have no grounds if we don't have a means of a design by which to instruct governments, by which to lobby governments and pressure governments all over the world, or we're not able to actually influence their action. We won't be able to influence their action. All we're doing is chipping away at the edges, and that we could do that for generations, and they are evolving faster. So we could do that for generations. we need to come up with a design of how app work can work to respect the dignity of work and, you know, come back to the basics of living in a society together as people, not living in a society that's fraught with division. At the other end, we need to facilitate growing awareness with drivers that their work is not independent and that they are employees by another name, because we are employees by another name. We're directed as employees. We are just not given the status of employees. Awareness grows in workplaces. I have a vision of workplace centres. That vision's been had before. I've been speaking to people today who have tried and pushed for workplace centres and tried to get some kind of funding from everywhere on earth. How we fund these, I don't know. But if drivers can come to a place to get help with the issues that they now approach us on social media and over the phone with, if they could come and there are other drivers there doing the same thing, that starts a conversation. And conversation, talk is where it begins. I just want to finish this and really I'm asking questions. How are we going to come together as a body of no more division between workers, between academics, between unions? How are we all going to come together to design this new system, to design a system where app work will work for everybody for the future? And how are we going to fund the ability to bring drivers with the conversation that we're having? However, I'll finish with a story. I don't know how many of you know of the Toll Puddle Martyrs. A lot of people don't these days. The Toll Puddle Martyrs were the first trade union, as we know it. There were 6 agricultural labourers in 1834 who met under a sycamore tree in Toll Puddle in England to talk about how to get better pay. They were being ripped off pretty badly by the farmer. They swore a secret oath as members of a friendly society of agricultural labourers, and that's where we all come from. That's our history. They withdrew their labour. They were arrested, and on a technicality, they were sentenced to penal transportation to Australia. The people got together at levels that included all classes in England to protest their transportation. And after some years, they were pardoned. They were the fathers of the union movement, and it all happened because people got together and talked. Thank you.